the thing that's really got the country in its grips. We are experiencing level 4 load shedding at the moment, saying it's a very complex problem, saying that ordinarily we should have about 40,000 megawatts of established energy, but that because we are dealing with machines that constantly break down, what we really need is between 27 and 30, and this is what's happening. He says, for instance, he started off by saying we lost about 16,000 of megawatts that were out of commission, and immediately after that 5,000 megawatts needed to be repaired, and saying that the Zambia situation resulting from the Kahara Bassa dam was also problematic. The president saying that the biggest problem is that South Africa also mostly relies on a single generator, saying that they need to restructure Eskom to ensure that we have other purchase power agreements for generations that could possibly help, saying that they are looking at it, a discussion that is ongoing with the Public Enterprises Ministry at the moment. So is this crisis at Eskom deeper than South Africans are made to believe? So despite the promises to keep the lights on, Eskom has now implemented stage 4 of the rolling blackouts until Friday. As we mentioned, the power utility saying several units are still offline, and this has put pressure on the grid. Mandla Maleka is an independent market analyst and joins us now to talk about this. A very good evening to you, Mr. Maleka, and thank you so much for speaking to us. I mean, we often hear phrases like business confidence, and with regards to Eskom, whether or not it being a going concern is something that will attract investment. The president has also spoken about how positive we ought to be because of investment that's flowing into the country. But just given what he's outlined, I may not know much about power generation, but if you say we have one generator and that's what we're reliant on, I get somewhat nervous.
Yeah, good evening to you. I am going to differ with the president, really. It's now an issue of competence, no longer of system breaking down. If you were to run the ANC or DA or EFF, you grow within its structures until you become the presidential material. If you want a successful engineering outfit to serve you without failure, you'll do the same. You will grow individuals within that particular technical engineering unit until they are of a certain experience and age to run the plants. Now, load shedding, you'll forgive it at first, because normally that is when your demand exceeds your supply. Then you call it load shedding. But if it happens the second time, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the 100th time, it's a matter of competency. Here, the competence I'm talking about is that your typical CEO of Eskom, the board, and the CFO are locked in a 5-year contract to manage assets that are worth 30, 40 years. Based on a 5-year term experience. This is when we begin to experience.
So let's talk about competence. Mr. Maleka. The president was speaking in his capacity as the president of the ANC. In 1998 already, the Minister of Minerals of Energy, Penyo Maduna, who was deployee, wrote a white paper on energy policy, and already they were saying that capacity surplus will be fully utilized by 2007. It was envisaged that supply-side investment should really take place at the end of 1999. The president presided over the war room while he was deputy president. You're talking about competence. He is the president of the country at the moment. Is he competent to lead South Africa through this crisis? And some might say one is being unfair, pointing fingers at him, but he is the executive, so to speak.
Well, here I'm referring to the level of competence of the senior management at Eskom. In that very year, 1997-98, Eskom was headed by an individual who had grown within Eskom. such that even the first black CEO of Eskom had grown within that environment. The third one also after that had grown within the same environment with that expertise. Now, come 2008, 2009, that's when we began to experience load shedding because it was now run by incompetent individual year in and year out. We are in 2021. You won't be surprised to say that on average, an Eskom CEO lasts for 1 year.
I understand that you're talking about how, for instance, Thulani Gqabashe up until 2007 was pushing very hard to have new power plants built. President Cyril Ramaphosa is himself a member of the ANC. He has foreseen this, and I'm not saying we're taking away responsibility from the management of Eskom, but as he speaks to the nation, tries to reassure the nation that they heard them as a party, that they lost votes because of unhappiness, partly because of load shedding. What does he then have to say to us as a nation? What does he then have to say to the Public Enterprises Department? What does he then say to the executive of Eskom in saying we need to understand? Saying it's complex surely cannot be enough for South Africans who are sitting in the dark and the cold at the moment. Is he competent as a leader?
No, he needs to get rid of the board, get rid of the CE, and get rid of the minister. As simple as that. We need new eyes, new ears, new technical expertise. Clearly, there's no expertise. That's what I'll advise the president to do, because that's well within his power to do it. We can't be in stage 4 load shedding when last year, 2020, the demand for electricity was far lower. Why didn't we fix those plants? Now, an engineering mind would have long gone that way to avoid that tomorrow we have load shedding. Okay. So get rid of individuals who are tasked.
All right, thank you so much for your time and insights. Mandla Maleka, an independent market analyst, speaking to us about the situation. Now we will be speaking to more in just a moment.